What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Arizona Cardinals Madden 19 Rebuild franchise, where we have won our second Super Bowl of the series. And that makes things a lot more interesting going forward, knowing that this team was able to get it done, and that we're going to have some challenges keeping them together. I do think this is the best version of our team we've had the entire series. This is an offense that we've been building now for a while with a lot of the same players. Defensively, we had some key changes this year with Ahmad Burns in the middle of it all at linebacker. I've been talking for a long time about the big trade up for a star player, and we finally made it happen last year with Ahmad Burns, who became one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And then we signed Shakir Cosby, and he made some plays this year and helped solidify the secondary a bit. He has that elite zone coverage. So now, with this Super Bowl ring we earned, we have to look at what is next after winning. How do we keep this team together, and is it even possible? One thing to keep in mind today is this is our first offseason we've had in the series with no first-round pick. Now, we could try packaging up these picks to create one, but as of right now, our first pick is going to be 52nd overall. And by the way, just one more quick look here at the numbers on the season. J.W. Unger has been very steady in his 5 seasons. The numbers pretty much all look the same. And then this year, his best playoff performance ever, just 1 interception in the entire playoffs. We couldn't have done it without Jason Lemon, who's made so many plays now, especially these last couple of seasons. In the air, Bradley Young and Walker Onobun were nearly 1,000-yard receivers. Joseph was pretty solid. He's likely going to a new team this year. And defensively, Deontay Wallace set to be a free agent, along with Corey Holiday and probably a couple others. This is going to be challenging. We're going to likely see at least one big-name player leave this year. So I want to see when we get to the offseason, what kind of cap space do we have to work with? The offseason is set to begin. One upgrade today. We don't normally get one before the offseason begins, but we do this time for Jarvis Salisbury, who is one of our best players on defense, and I think a very important part of our team's future. And this boost gives us some strength, power moves, some intangibles. I like that. He is still just 24 years old. No surprise there. Budda Baker has retired. He was with us throughout the entire series. And then Marcus Mariota, our backup last season, has also retired. So let's take a look now at free agency. What is it going to look like here? We, of course, have backup quarterback Hanson Hannum. I already know I'm not going to be paying that. And then we have Lawrence Turner, Parker Mays. Aaron Howell never signed a deal. We could give him the franchise tag. He's down to a 90 overall, by the way. Then there's Deontay Wallace, Watts Mathis, Corey Holiday, Stephen Harding, Joseph. All right. Let's begin by checking out Deontay Wallace's negotiations here, and we have just $17.5 million in cap space. That's not much. Right off the bat, one move I know I want to make is placing the franchise tag on Aaron Howell for about $11 million. And that leaves us with only $6 million in cap room. There are only 2 players that we can trade or release to create a lot of cap space, and those players are Joey Bosa and Walker Onobun. And Joey Bosa just got done winning the Super Bowl MVP after a big pick 6. He's still a high-quality player at 35 years old, and he's coming off a season in which he had 9.5 sacks. His career had a nice resurgence here, as he still put up elite production. However, I think that moving Joey Bosa is something we can do to get back some draft capital and to make sure that we're not losing too much of our team all at once. I think we have to be prepared to move on from Joseph. He just wants a lot more money than we can afford right now. And then I think we also let Watts Mathis walk, and we can play Frank McFadden, draft somebody. I think drafting a corner is going to be something we do this season with Shakir Cosby and Aaron Howell, both at 29 years old. Obviously, Mathis is 27. It'd be nice to keep him, but I just think that we have to get even younger and maybe even play a guy like Frank McFadden next year. One of the tough ones is Corey Holiday. He plays so well when we watch. We could have a replacement ready in Craig Starks. It's tough here because I know what Holiday has done when we've watched, and he's been a really solid player who doesn't want a huge contract. So I think I'm okay keeping Holiday, offering him a deal at least if we make the room. I can't make the room quite yet, so I have to make some offers before we actually see if we can get a good deal for Joey Bosa. That's who I think we have to trade. We have Marcus Sullivan who can step in. We have some good defensive line depth already, and trading Bosa can mean us keeping perhaps Wallace, Holiday. I'm not sure about anybody else that's a key role player, but let's get to work now on these re-signings. Deontay Wallace has just been so valuable, and we struggled for a long time not having two really good linebackers to play in the nickel. And now that we have that situation, I don't want to see it go. So we're going to offer the deal here. And despite me increasing the signing bonus, Deontay Wallace is testing the open market. We are able to keep Lawrence Turner on a 2-year contract, and he'll get a chance possibly next year depending on how the offseason goes. We also keep backup cornerback Parker Mays on a 2-year contract. We do not get a deal done for fullback Roderick Spurlock, so we'll see if he comes back. We're going to have LaMarcus Russell as a backup corner and let Moses Humphrey test, but I really enjoyed having him on the team. Dre Riddle's going to be testing. We'll look for a backup running back this season. That should be fun. The 4-year deal for Corey Holiday is now signed. It was just $17.6 million, and he is about to start regressing, but I think it's really cheap for a player who has proven to be good for us. I'd also like to keep Stephen Harding, especially because this second contract would only take him to the first part of regression, so he'd still have a chance to get a little bit better. So we'll offer the 4-year contract. He'll sign it. That leaves us now with $1.7 million in cap space. It is tight right now, and we're going to take the rest of this to free agency and see if we can make a move to create some space to maybe keep a few more of these players. Joey Bosa is now on the trade block, but I don't want to wait a week for offers. I think we have to see a bit right now what we could possibly get. Judging by this, I'm not sure we're getting a first-round pick or any more than that. So if I take this 4 off, we can probably come close, especially if I throw in maybe a later pick to get the first. So that is an option, but that's for pick 27, not exactly a high first-rounder. And that might be good compared to other teams. Oh, this is a team that has one of the top picks. Okay, so Miami at pick number 2. They're not giving that up at all. So here we go to the open market. Alan Carey is one of the top players available. He is a running back. Raymond Garcia could be leaving the Falcons. Okay, that's surprising. Mason Williamson. Wow, not many players here in the mid to high 80s. I'm hoping one of these free agent periods is interesting, but it just hasn't happened. It says now we have $5 million in cap space, and we'll see if we get any offers for Bosa. A lot of these markets seem to be starting out pretty slowly. There are no bids yet for Joseph Joseph. There aren't any for Dre Riddle. Watts Mathis is definitely getting a good deal here. Miami's already out in front with a 123-point bid. And of course, we're trying to keep Deontay Wallace here. And the Bengals already have a huge bid for him. That's got to be over 10 a year. Oh, I can't even offer deals that put us under in cap space. So if I'm going to trade Bosa to keep one of these players, it's got to be now before I can see offers. Yeah, even getting just the first round pick is going to be a challenge. This is for pick 17. I offered to the Bengals because I thought maybe if they got Bosa and that cap space was eaten up a little bit, they wouldn't go after Wallace. All right, we've got a deal done. For a first-round pick, Joey Bosa is traded to the Tennessee Titans. We'll pick now at pick 27, and we could try moving up from there potentially. We'll have to see how many holes are on our roster, how many players we still have to add. But that should give us some new cap flexibility. Let's check the salaries now. And suddenly now we're left with $31.9 million in cap space. Obviously, trading the Super Bowl MVP is not something that you want to do very often, but I felt that we had to do it to maintain the team that we had. I also drafted Marcus Sullivan a while ago to be a starter at this point, and I think that we got a good run out of Joey Bosa. It was definitely a good deal in the trade for Josh Rosen. This is not going to be easy, though. I'm really going to have to pay for Wallace. We're at $11 million a year right now, and we are not even close. I'm not sure. Do we go up over 126? Is that smart? This gets us to 121, and now it is over $12 million this season. That'll tie us right there. And that is $50 million over 4 years for the 27-year-old Deontay Wallace. That's a lot of money, but he is a really good player. We know what kind of a difference he's made to our defense. I also had some interest in trying to retain Harvey McPherson as good defensive tackle depth, so we'll make a 2-year offer for about $7 million. We do keep McPherson. And we do keep Deontay Wallace as an Arizona Cardinal, but wow. The Bengals really bid me up and forced me to spend a lot of money in that move. I didn't think I'd have to spend that much. He got way more than the $37 million he was originally asking for. But Wallace does have 88 zone coverage. He's a playmaker and the number 6 rated linebacker at his position. Overall, I felt it was necessary because having these game changers at linebacker can take a defense to the next level. So we're back to having very little space here. I'm probably going to focus mostly on the draft now, and then we'll do what we can at the end of the draft and beginning of the preseason. So I think we're about done here. Okay, the Bengals might go after Joseph now. I wonder if Mathis signed. Let's check this out. He is going to the Dolphins. $40 million, 4 years. A lot more than his baseline offer, which was closer to 6 a season. So as we sit right now, I think we're in a pretty good situation. Marcus Sullivan will step in for Joey Bosa. We can address some linebacker depth, maybe cornerback depth as well. And then offensively, possibly a wide receiver. However, if we don't, we already have Marquise Walters, who is a downfield threat, Lawrence Turner. But we'll probably add somebody at some point. And, of course, there's still a need at running back. Alright, I don't think we've taken a deep look at the draft board this year, but let's start to get a plan now of how we're going to attack this. I have 1 first-round pick now, thanks to the Joey Bosa trade, 2 seconds, a 3, 2 4s, and then some late-round picks hopefully we can still do something with, although I'll probably have to trade up to find somebody on my board. Overall, one of my goals is to come out of here with a good backup quarterback, and we've seen it throughout the series now. A lot of these first-round quarterbacks fall because there are just too many, especially when you get further and further into franchise. So somebody should be there for us in maybe the 3rd or 4th round. When it comes to running back, there are some options, primarily early in the draft. I can't see us going first-round running back. Douglas Gordon would be an option in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe. He's a power back, almost 240 pounds, 4'6", 440. Pretty good top 3. One thing about this class, though, is that there aren't a lot of speed backs. Even the backs that have elusive or receiving as their type, they're running in the high 4.5s or low 4.6s. So I might even just check free agency if there isn't the right fit. At receiver, the 2 top receivers don't have the best combine grades. Then we have some players who are a bit overrated. And then we get to this middle tier where there could be a lot of options specifically for what we're looking for. Mac Rabb from K-State didn't have a great combine, but he has the route running traits we look for. And then there's Brian Gutierrez from Missouri, who ran a 4.53 and has the really good route running traits as well. Offensive line is something I could consider. Isaiah Wynn is only getting older. However, I think that it's not necessarily something we have to address early. But I'm not sure if there is a position we have to address early. Maybe it comes down to just the right talent in the right spot. Elgin Kitchens, by the way, a really good second-round prospect. B+ power, B- tackle, and obviously with Marcus Sullivan becoming a starter, we could use some more defensive line depth. And Kitchens looks like a really underrated prospect. Yeah, I think I'll just see how the top picks unfold, and then if there's a chance to trade up, I wouldn't hesitate, because I don't think we need a ton of players out of this class. If it ends up being a 5 or 6 player class, I think that could work. We have a good thing going right now for us on this team. Douglas Love, 7.5 combine, by the way. There we go. Elite all around, 21 years old. Wouldn't be a scheme fit, but you make exceptions for top talents. So we already knew that Watts Mathis went to Miami. I was just curious about anybody else that was on our team. Joseph gets 50 over 4. Wow, big deal from Cincinnati. Dion Richard going to the Saints now. We saw him in the Super Bowl. Dre Riddle ends up getting a pretty good deal from the Packers for over $4 million. And Marshall Donaldson, he'll go to the Saints. Pierce Hamilton is still in the league at 28 years old. He gets a 3-year deal from Carolina. And Roderick Spurlock is going to take his talents to Buffalo. With that, it's time for us to begin the 2030 NFL Draft. And we'll be waiting a while for our selection, so we'll get right into it with the Raiders taking Levon Richardson, linebacker out of LSU. Last season was an elite draft class, and we'll see what this year's brings. The first 4 players are all very high quality players. San Francisco takes Lamell Preston, a 77 overall D tackle. There goes a center off the board, Kaysen Jacobs, Julius Hodges to the Bears, Jonathan Tomlinson to Jacksonville. And now I'm interested in the possibilities of moving up the board. Taking a look here, there is Daron Samuda, who is one of the top running backs. He's a good talent here for a mid-first round pick. He'd be an option, but I just can't see me wanting to trade up for a running back with the way Jason Lemon plays, and I still think he'll be on the team for quite a while. Don't plan on trading up for a quarterback or a safety. Corner's possible. Douglas Love would be tempting to move up for, even if he's not a scheme fit. Like I mentioned, he's a pretty special player, 21 years old, one of the best combine grades in the entire draft. Every draft ends up being different based on who the stars are, how deep positions are, and what your needs are. So I'm not sure if there's the right scenario to trade up this season. Doesn't always make sense. Douglas Love ends up going to New England, a 79 overall cornerback. Nate Turner is off the board. Leighton Johnson. We're now 10 picks away from our selection. I think I'm pretty comfortable just staying where we're at and making a pick. Jesus Lloyd's a 75. I was considering him. Matt Clayton off the board. DeAndre and Secchi. And we're almost there. Come on! I didn't think he'd go. And that's probably who I would have ended up taking. Elgin Kitchens to the Bills. Come on. Always good to begin a draft by missing out on somebody who was really good. 2 picks away. We still have some options though, so what can we do now? There are definitely some players I'm interested in, but I feel like we can trade down, maybe even trade out of this pick. That's a little less likely probably, but it's worth taking a look at least at what offers we have. Oh wow, the Steelers have 2 picks back to back. We'll see what they do with those. So this is the 2030 draft. We could get a future 2 and a 7 from New Orleans. We could drop down to 51. That's a little far. Or we could trade out entirely. I'm not sure I like these options this year. One spot there is value to be had right here is at pass rusher. We could go with Rashawn Howard or Anthony Dixon, who's actually a first-round talent with a second-round grade. He is 24 years old. I don't think pass rusher is necessarily a major need. I just thought Kitchens, who went to the Bills, was incredible value. So if pass rusher is something I still want to address, I have some options later on. It doesn't have to be right now. I have a couple mid-round options. Emilio Barker, by the way, had a 7.2 combine grade. Very, very strong with finesse moves that are going to be usable. So he's somebody we could go for later on. There's Trayvon Wheatley as well. Gerard Wusu has good finesse moves. If I wanted to, the running backs are all available. I don't think a single one has gone off the board yet. I like having a decent backup just because running backs do have, high injury frequency. They carry the ball a lot, so it's nice to have a good backup. So this is tempting for sure to take Duran Samuda. All right, I've taken a look at the roster and the depth chart and some players that we haven't talked a lot about, and I think now we can actually afford to do this. Backup running backs touch the ball a lot here in Madden 19. We are going to select Duran Samuda out of Alabama. He's a 21-year-old running back with good elusiveness and vision. I like this blend of combine skills and the football skills. So Samuda is the pick, and he's a 79 overall, 14th in true talent. We're getting a running back with 90 speed who has a little break tackle, but mostly acceleration, agility, and he has moves as well. He can catch the football too. That's always a plus. So I figure for someone who's going to touch the ball probably around 8 to 10 times a game, it's worth investing in. I know who I want next, and it's all about if he's available. And I am looking for an offensive lineman. I know that Isaiah Wynn's going to be retiring probably soon, or at least regression's going to continue hitting every season. But the player I want is a late first round option, or late second round option. We pick at round 2, pick 20. Gordon Martin's off the board. We'll face him. I'll have to see how good he ended up being. I prefer speedier backs. I think they just tend to be a bit more productive. Rashawn Howard was a 76. I was definitely considering him. Gerard Wusu off the board was a 76. Wow, I thought this was kind of a fair deal. 10 picks for a 4th round pick? All right, the Giants are not a team that we're going to be trading with in this case. I thought that was a really fair deal too. They go defensive tackle. Let's try with the Jets. Maybe they'll be nice to us. They also have a need at tackle, so this would be an ideal team, I think, to work a deal with. So let's see if we can get this done. Moving up 10 spots I'll try the 6 and the 7. Don't think it'll work. And the 4 might do it. Or the 4 hardly moves the needle at all, if at all. What's going on here? I'm just trying to move up 9 spots. They don't take who I wanted. All right, that's 2 tries at the trade. I'm going for a 3rd. There we go. Sometimes you just have to stay patient. We move up 8 spots for the cost of a 6 and our 3rd 7th round pick. So that puts us on the clock, and I already know who I want with this one. We are going offensive lineman, hopefully a future starter. And here's where he was on the overall board, by the way. He was in the top 20 players remaining. Jamerson Williams is going to be our pick. He's a very strong pass protector. The entire top 3 revolves around pass protection, and he's from Delaware State. He's the pick at 75 overall. The talent is right in line with where we took him, so it's not really a reach. And 75 overall is high enough to begin to where he might be a starter in a couple of seasons. 89 strength. The pass blocking skills are in the low 80s, high 70s, and the run blocking skills need some work, but a good 2nd round player, I think. And we'll see who's there for pick 32. Mac Rabb is off the board. He's going to the Rams. A good player we'll have to deal with. CJ John to the Patriots. Watts Boger, I liked him. Bennett Flowers, whoa. I'm pretty sure Flowers was a run stopper. and it looks like a pretty good one. I don't see me trading up anymore. We'll have to see. I like the slate of picks I have right now, and we are on the clock at pick 32 in the second round. 36 players still on my board. We might have to look at mostly third round prospects here. Zach Hodge is one at wide receiver. He's a red zone threat. There's Trayvon Wheatley if we still want to go pass rusher. And then Tremont Akins, a little overrated here, only a 6.0 combine grade as well. All right, I think we have a pretty solid pick we can make here. We're going to select Brian Gutierrez. He's an elite underneath route runner. The 4.53 40 I think is pretty good. This is not overall the fastest class, although I guess he is ranked the 18th wide receiver. But I think that these skills are ones that we need to replicate now after the loss of Joseph. So I think Gutierrez is an easy plug and play option. And he's a 77 overall first round talent here in the end of the second round. Gutierrez has 90 speed, more than plenty. 79 catching, 91 short, 86 medium, but that deep route running is not that far off. I think this is a really good selection for us and a steal at this point. So that's 3 picks, all on offense. And now the quarterbacks begin to go right after we select. I'd like to go quarterback, but you see how many are going off the board. We've seen 5 since our selection, make it 6. The run on quarterbacks always starts around here. And while I would love to end up with one, I'm not sure if we're going to have great options now. It's just so tempting to get one of these quarterbacks on the cheap rookie contract and be able to work with a player for a while, because veteran quarterbacks on the open market get pretty expensive in franchise. It's an easy salary saving move you can make. Oh wow, Emilio Barker's off the board, 77 overall. That's unlucky. Ross Washington, maybe there are a couple quarterbacks out there, or maybe they just went. But let's get back on the clock. It's our turn again. 20 players on the board and 5 picks left. The 5th and 6th round are not going to be very eventful for us. So what can we do now? No quarterbacks left on the board, so I'm probably going the veteran route once we get there. If we look at the entire board, there are a couple I didn't scout. I just assumed I had enough already scouted. I might take a chance on somebody, though, in the 7th round. We're going to be going cornerback this time. 6'1", 208 pounds, Rashawn Baker out of UCF. He's only 21 years old, but he's got the height we look for, good speed, press, and zone ability. The man cover ability is really low, but we'll have to work on that. Baker's the pick, 74 overall. It's not a bad value here. 81 zone, 72 man. He's a good athlete with good size. Not bad. Not much happening here between our 3rd round pick and our 4th round pick. We're on the clock again. And we have 2 selections here in the 4th. So how many left on our board? We have only 13 players remaining. We're going to make a deal with Seattle and take their 4th round pick next year and hope that it's a very high 4th round selection. I just wanted to swap out of here. There's not much more I want to do in this draft, but there is an offensive lineman I'm kind of interested in with our next selection if he's available. Chucky Easy is the pick for Seattle, a player who was actually on our board. But I think this is going to be mostly an offensive draft. I just don't see the value there defensively for us. Might still be a player that I want to take, but the board has just kept falling to favor offense for us. So here we are again. I was thinking about Fabalu J, but he was not the player I wanted here. We're going back to the offensive line, and now it's Devin Haynes, who has a more balanced skill set. Pass block power, run block is high, so is lead block, and he's strong, only 22 years old. Haynes is the pick, 73 overall. I really make sure we have good offensive line depth. It's something we had throughout the Browns series, and I'm not ready to stop building up O-line. So that's going to take us all the way to the 7th round. I'm not sure if there's going to be much to do here. I will take a shot, though, on a quarterback probably, because if you hit, you got a cheap 4-year option, and that is definitely worth the chance. The draft board is completely empty at this point, so an interesting offseason. We're going to take Hugh Norton. I know nothing about him beyond he's a pocket passer from Ohio. And Norton is a 65 overall. That is a reach. And he can throw decent, medium, and short. Definitely not the backup quarterback I was looking for. And we'll trade out of this pick and acquire a future 6 from our rivals in Los Angeles. And that is going to bring us to the end of the draft. Definitely not the most exciting offseason. I think the most exciting part was just not losing Deontay Wallace. But obviously, Watts Mathis, Joey Bosa, along with Joseph are all on new teams now. So it's going to be a little bit of a new look team this year. I spent most of the picks on offense. We might have to make some signings for the defense. We have $14 million in cap space. That should more than cover a good backup quarterback and a couple other depth players. So the Seahawks, they had what seems to be a pretty solid draft. They took a safety in the first, Steven Gibson, who has quick development, and his skills need some work, but he'll get there. They took Gordon Martin. He ends up with quick development at 24 years old, 87 speed, very high carrying and trucking. I just haven't seen too many of these power backs work out this year. When we're watching, it's mostly elusiveness and speed that seems to get the job done. They also traded up to select Chucky Easy out of Hawaii, who has some speed. He can run deep routes, and we'll see if he gets some playing time against us. The Rams didn't do too bad either. Conrad Cobb early, then they go Mac Rabb, who I was really intrigued by. Normal Dev out of K-State. The speed is just really low. The Bills definitely took somebody I wanted, though, in Elgin Kitchens. 82 overall, quick development, 21 years old, and already very good power moves, good athleticism. Not really a weakness here you have to worry about, plus all those traits. Definitely missed out not trading up the few spots necessary to get him. Overall, the top player taken was the top player available. Lavon Richardson goes to the Raiders. He is a pass rusher who opens his career with 86 power moves and 84 speed, 89 hit power, and 77 zone coverage. Kitchens ended up being the number 2 player. No, that's a big miss. Overall, there weren't too many 80 overall and above this year, or maybe that's normal, but overall I think this class was not as good as last year's. Oh yeah, Emilio Barker also went to the Bills, so they knocked this draft out of the park. And Barker is a 77 with good power moves. Let's see their overall draft haul then. They got Kitchens and Barker with 2 of their first 3 selections. And then DeAnthony Nicholas, 71. Alright, so primarily their value was in those 2 players. So a look at the roster here before any more changes. I could still sign a fullback, but we shored up some stuff on the offense for the future. But did I do enough for the defense? One player that made me change my mind a little bit was Tyree Stevenson. He's going to be one of our backup pass rushers in just his 2nd year. 84 finesse, 79 speed, and speed rusher is one of our scheme fit archetypes. So I'll move him probably to right end to get that scheme fit. And then I just wonder if at cornerback we have to sign somebody, or if we can play Frank McFadden. I'd love to play him and get some development and turn him into a good player. That might be the route we go. I didn't address linebacker though, because we have Russell and Lopez, and we know LaMarcus Russell quite well after he started for a couple seasons. I think he will be able to be that backup coverage linebacker and do just fine, maybe even start. And then there's also Tyler Lopez, who is a veteran, who is also a pass rusher. Okay, so we can play him at end as well. And maybe I will have to sign a linebacker in that case, but that's not a big deal. I think the big question, though, is just Is the loss of Bosa and the loss of Mathis going to be a big deal for the defense? They were really good last year. Many games where the opponents couldn't even get over 300 yards of offense. With some younger players getting some more playing time, will McFadden and Sullivan be able to handle it? Really excited to see what Sullivan can do, though. He's very close to an 80 overall, and when he's gotten on the field and we've watched, we've seen good things in small samples. So that is going to bring the offseason to an end. What do you think of this team entering the newest season? We had to lose some players, but what do you think of the decisions I made to get us ready for this year? Is this a team that can potentially repeat as Super Bowl champions? Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave your feedback below, and we'll have this season underway shortly. Have a great day, everybody.